Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Torah Lechaim with your host, Rabbi Anibal. How is everybody doing? David, you said klezmer music. Maybe, I don't know. It's a new system. I wanted to try something new because I got tired of the last uh, timer that I've been using for so long. I have my coffee here. It's a double espresso today. It's a double with a dash of cream. So I'm enjoying my coffee. I hope you're enjoying yours. Who said cappuccino here? Let's see, Brenda. Brenda said cappuccino. Okay. Yeah, so the music that you heard, it's like a built-in kind of music, and it's like a very short tune that gets in a loop. But I just check, and it gives me the option to play my own, so I have to upload it first. Maybe next time. I'm trying different things. I use the same image we use for the thumbnail to announce the class. I use that for the timer, and I discovered I can change the duration of the timer, everything else. So yeah. So yeah, you're lucky that I didn't use Halloween music because that was one of the things that the software was suggesting me to use. Ah, I don't know why. Well, I know why, because Halloween is coming, right? So Ariel Lee, you like tea. Okay, tea is fine. Tea is fine. Not my cup of tea. No pun intended, but I'm happy if you're happy. So today we are going to study Parshat Lech Lecha, the story of Abraham and Sarah. So, which is it's a very fascinating story, the two of them. It's a story of new beginnings, right? It's a story of resilience, story of faith, and like they it was an interesting life for the two of them. Lots of challenges, lots of things to overcome, but also great values, great human values expressed by the two of them, but by Abraham and Sarah. They were givers. They were givers. That's the way the Torah described to them, and they like to share everything they have with other people. So that included all these spiritual discoveries that they made during their early life, that eventually they spread that message to the whole area. We are going to study a little bit about that just in a couple of minutes. Let's give 2 more minutes for people to join the class. We don't want anybody to miss anything that we have to say to study for this class. So meanwhile, that's what I told you. Go for your coffee. Ariel, tea for you. Delicious. Look at that crema there. Can you see it? Whew. That is because that's what happens when you use espresso. The only thing with the espressos is it's not too hot, right? And then when I put a little bit of cream, it cools it down right away. But I don't want to heat the milk and do it. It's too complicated. I just rather use a little bit of cream. Yeah. Okay, welcome everyone. If there is anyone there who joined the class but didn't say hello, please say hello in the chat. I want to know who is here. And please let me know your name because YouTube used to tell me the names of the people. Now all I get are the YouTube ID, not the name. So Randy again said, welcome, Randy. Welcome to the class. Welcome. And I think Shelly was here as well with David, with Brenda. So welcome to all of you. Welcome. Yeah, Shelly's here. I can see your message. Even though, Shelly, your name on my screen is 55 Choch. And then from there, I have to imagine, Shelly, that it's you. Okay? That's the thing with the YouTube changes things all the time on me. Keeps me on my toes. YouTube keeps me guessing. Yeah, let's see what happened because I didn't receive any message from Facebook. If there is any Facebook message, let's see if I get the name or not. Unless there is something on the settings here that I can change, but it's one day I will investigate that. Shelly Chochinov, my new ID. Yeah, no, but I used to say Shelly Chochinov, but not anymore. Now it says 55 Choch. Okay, so let's begin with the class. As I mentioned before, Parshat Lech Lecha, the story of Abraham and Sarah, and by extension, the story of the Jewish people, because they were the beginning of everything. That's why they were, you know, when we're talking about our forefathers and foremothers, everything started with Abraham and Sarah. First forefather, first foremother. Then we have Isaac and Rebecca. And then we have Jacob with Rachel and Leah. He was the first one of the patriarchs that married two women. In fact, there were two sisters. That later on, in Jewish law, that became a no-no. Okay, but back in the day, I guess it was fine. Amparo Goldman, you're here as well. Welcome to the class, Amparo. Okay, so let's go study a little bit about Abraham and Sarah. Let me start from the beginning, because this year, every year I try to start with to study different parts of the parsha. So this year I'm not mentioning what happened at the very beginning of the parsha, which is God telling Abraham to leave his homeland. Where? Well, all what God said was to the land that I will show you. How? We don't know. But I guess God had a way to show Abraham and Sarah where they're supposed to go. Eventually, that land became the land of Israel. Okay, back in the day, it used to be called Canaan. Canaan. But it's so God said to Abraham and Sarah, Lech Lecha, leave. And they say, okay, we leave. And this is what happened after they left. Oh, welcome, Judy Sharak. You see, Judy, you are on Facebook, and I can see your full name. So Facebook is fine. Facebook tells me full names. YouTube is not. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so Abraham and Sarah left, and this is the way the Torah talks about the two of them. It says, Abraham took his wife Sarai and his brother, sorry, not Abraham, Abram. The name Abraham will come later on. God will actually change the name to this man from Abraham to Avraham, but not yet, not yet. And also Sarai eventually became Sarah, replacing the last I with an H. But for now Abraham took his wife Sarai and his brother's son Lot and all the wealth that they had amassed and the persons that they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and then when they arrived in the land of Canaan. Okay? So basically, that's where they went, and who was part of the group was Abraham, Sarai, and Lot. Lot, for some reason, decided to follow them. We don't know much about that. The Torah doesn't explicitly talk about what was the motivation from Lot to follow Abraham, because there was no commandment for Lot to leave behind his homeland. But nevertheless, he decided to take this huge risk and to follow Uncle Abraham and Auntie Sarah. But they said that they took everything they own, all the material things they own, but also said the persons that they had acquired in Haran. It's a very interesting translation, the persons that they had acquired, because in the Hebrew it said ve'et hanefesh asher asu beharan. In other words, the literal translation of that verse, it said that what they took with them was all the wealth, all the material things, and the souls that they acquired. What does it mean, a soul that they acquire? One translation, which is more an interpretation, is this, that refers probably to slaves. Right? Back in the day, it was common, like servants. So you acquire a person, that you buy a servant, and then become a soul that you bought. You know, that is, hello, Janet Mizrahi, welcome to the class. You know that, how can I say it? When somebody wants to tell you a secret, I don't know if you heard the expression that I said, "Oh, you can trust that to me. I won't tell a soul." Have you ever heard that expression? I won't tell a soul what you told me. When you tell me, I won't tell a soul what you tell me. It's an expression. So basically, a soul means a person, right? Not literally a soul means a person. So it could be that veheta nefesh in this concept, in this context, means a person, but it also means a soul. So that also has a very interesting, uh, convey a very interesting idea that can help us understand the life of Abraham a little bit better if we translate that word soul as soul. What do I mean? Let's continue reading here. You will see what I'm going. So the Midrash says Abraham will invite people into his home, give them to eat and to drink, show them love, and bring them close to God. Convert them and bring them under the wings of the divine presence. This is to teach us that whoever brings a person under the wings of the divine presence, it is considered as if he has created him, formed him, and developed him. So, in this interpretation from the Midrash, what it says that the reason why the Torah says the souls that they acquired, it means the souls that they transformed, that they touched. Because remember, Abraham came from a place where people were pagans. They believe in multiple God. They worship idols. Abraham had a different idea on how to relate to the divine. For starters, Abraham believed that there is only one divine being, that is Hashem, the one divine being. So he will invite people home, right? And over lunch or over dinner, he will talk to them about his belief on God. And I guess some people like what Abraham have to say, and they kind of because they kind of converted. I say kind of because there was no religion, so there was no formal conversion. There wasn't even circumcision back then. It didn't came until, you know, after a few events that God made a covenant with Abraham, and that covenant included the circumcision, but not yet, not at that point. So converting meant that these people were convinced that Abraham was into something special, to the point that they decided to follow him once Abraham left town. Which can you make sense? When there is somebody that is so important to you, uh, and then you follow the person wherever they go, wherever they go. It's not uncommon from, and in the Jewish history, in every country that I went, there are stories of popular rabbis that they leave, and some people leave after the rabbi, because they like what they have to say, so they follow to the next shul they go. Or with cantors, that happens the same thing. I did it once in Argentina with a martial arts teacher, where he left the gym where he was, the dojo where he was, but I really liked that guy. I thought it was amazing. So I found out where he went, and I followed him. I went to the other thing because I believe in his method and what he was teaching. So this is pretty much the same. Abraham was teaching about something. We don't know all the details on how Abraham was teaching, but it looks like some people were very moved by Abraham philosophy to the point that they decided to follow him to the land of Canaan, and Abraham was happy that they will follow him. Yeah. Brenda, you said that's because the secret morphs into something different. Oh, you think that's why people say, I won't tell a soul? That's what I mean? I won't tell a soul? Yeah. And Shelley said they appreciated his philosophy of life. Probably, probably. I wish I would be. This is one of the things. If you ask me, if I would have an opportunity to take a time machine, where would you go? What do you want to do? I would love to hear one of these conversations between Abraham and all these people, I want to know exactly where Abraham believes, right? Maybe another one will be to experience the Ten Commandments, but at least with Abraham for sure. You know, it's I'm very curious about this. Yeah. So let's continue here. So now there is another verse after that episode that the rabbis understand that continues the same pattern, explaining how Abraham was actually sharing his philosophy and his theology with other people. Let me explain. Let me explain. It says, from there they moved on to the hill country east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And he built there an altar to Adonai and invoked Adonai by name. Okay? I'll give you a second. Read that again because it's very important, and how the rabbis will take one word from that verse to explain something wonderful. Now, they say, listen to this because this is beautiful. What it says, he built there the altar to Adonai and invoked, in Hebrew, Vayikra Veshem Adonai. Vayikra Veshem Adonai, invoked Adonai by name. And the rabbi says, listen to this from the Talmud. He said Reish Lakish. That was the name of the rabbi who's talking here, Reish Lakish. Said Reish Lakish, read not, and he called or invoked Vayikra, but he made others to call Vayakrei. That's the way Reish Lakish, you know, this is a midrash from Reish Lakish. It's like, don't read Vayikra, read Vayakrei. This is very common in Talmudic language. This is to teach us that Abraham caused God's name to be spoken in the mouth of all passers-by. How so? After they ate and drank in his home, they wanted to bless him. Said he to them, have you eaten from mine? Your food has been provided by the God of the world. Thank, praise, and bless he who spoke the world into being. And this is a beautiful thing. When you go, somebody invites you for lunch or for dinner or for brunch, whatever, right? And then at the end of the meal, you will look at your host and they will say, thank you very much for the food that you served me. And that is exactly, looks like, was the same in those days, back in the day. On top of that, well, thank you very much for the food. Let me give you my blessing. And the blessing invoked their own gods. But Abraham said, no, no, no. Blessings, not to me. I didn't give you anything. You have to thank the real provider of everything. And that is Adonai. And so basically, Abraham was the one that it wasn't just about him blessing in the name of God on a regular basis, but guiding people to be thankful to the Creator, to understand that things don't come from people. Things come from God through people. Do you understand the difference? It's not the same as to say things come from people as to say things come from God through people. In other words, when you think that way, you realize that even about yourself, that we are nothing but a conduit from God's blessing to flow into the world. Hello, Holly Mandelkern. Welcome to the class. So this is something that also is present in this week's Parsha when God said to Abraham, I will bless you and you will be a blessing. It's a very famous verse of this Parsha. I will bless you and you shall be a blessing. What does it mean, I will bless you and you shall be a blessing? It means that truly becoming a conduit from heaven to earth. So we become the channel for blessings that they are stored, so to speak, in heaven to reach earth, to reach the people on earth. So we become the intermediary between earth and heaven. We become like a pipe connecting the two. And this is the interesting thing, because as we become this pipe to connect heaven and earth and to bless people, it's interesting that part of that blessing stays with us. And this is a fascinating theology of, the more you bless, the more you are blessed in the process. The more you bless, the more you are blessed in the process. Let's go back to the image of this pipe connecting heaven with earth, right? It's like, try to imagine a real pipe that it goes from a cistern, right, to a tap. When that's how we get water in our houses, right? You open the tap and then you get the water, but the water comes from a cistern. Who knows what it is? And there is a long pipe that will carry the water. Okay? And I don't know if you realize that when the pipe carries the water, the pipe gets wet in the process. But I wouldn't say that the main reason why we have pipes is for the pipes to get wet. That is a byproduct of the process. The main reason we have pipes is to transport water from point A to point B. But the pipe gets wet in the process. So the same happened with the blessing. We become this pipe connecting heaven and earth. The reason why God has that pipe, us, is to transfer the blessings from point A to point B. That's the main reason. But in the process, we get wet as well. We get blessed as well, just by transporting those blessings. So this is the thing. The more you bless, the more you get blessed. And that was the promise that God made to Abraham. I will bless you, but with the condition that you become a blessing. So the more you bless, the more you're going to get blessed. And that was a reality all along Abraham's life, if you analyze, with all the ups and downs that they may have. So Ariel Lee, what you said, I can't help but think of the beautiful David Friedman song. Yeah. And you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lech Lecha. Yeah, remember that? Lech Lecha, to a land that I will show you. Lech Lecha. Na da die 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 die. I don't remember the rest. But yes, it's a great song by David Friedman. Absolutely. Absolutely. So here we have Abraham, that he didn't believe in the concept of becoming a blessing for the people, and that it also included to teach them to be grateful, but grateful to the right source. Okay? Yeah, yes, Rabbi Love, maybe singing in the next service. Yeah, we were thinking about that, but we have a bar mitzvah this coming Saturday, so it was not part of the bar mitzvah training. They're doing their own thing, so yeah, I hear you, Ariel, but I don't think it's going to be part of the service. Anyway, yeah, yeah. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so listen what Maimonides it says about Abraham. A beautiful comment. He said, after this prodigious child was weaned, he began to muse. So this is the prodigious child was Abraham, and it's talking. Maimonides is trying to understand how in this world Abraham came out with this beautiful idea of the one God and the creator of the world, and being thankful to God and not to people. And where did that come from? Which says, after this prodigious child was weaned, he began to muse. While he was still young and started to ponder by day and by night, and will question how it was possible for the earth to continue to revolve without a guide. And he had no mentor. Right? This is the thing. Although this is debatable, there are other comments that say that Abraham did have a mentor. And you know who was Abraham's mentor? None other than Noah. Remember Noah, back in the day, those people used to live like 1,000 years. And technically there is an overlap between the two. And if it wasn't Noah, it was Noah's son, Shem. Okay? Maybe. But according to Maimonides, he will say, you know, Abraham basically had no mentors. Remember this, the whole story of Abraham, according to the Torah, if you follow the biblical narrative, it was only 10 generations after Noah, after the flood. 10 generations. It wasn't much time for the world to repopulate. So not too many people, and he had no mentor, nobody to teach you. In the same way that Noah, back in the day, didn't have anybody to teach him all the things. So we have here two great people that they kind of figure things out by themselves. If not everything, some of the things. Some of the things. They have to figure it out by themselves. So, and he, Abram, had no mentor. Nor did anyone reveal anything to him, but he was immersed in Ur-Kasdim among foolish idolaters. His father and mother and all the people serve idols, and he will serve with them, while his heart pondered and mused, until he understood the path of truth and realized the line of justice by virtue of his own correct reasoning. Okay? Then he came to understand that there was only one God, and that he was the guide of the celestial will. He created everything, and that there is no God among all creation creation other than him. So yeah, I remember that some people said there is no contradiction because this is young Abraham, and eventually he was trying to find somebody to agree with him, and that's how he found Noah and Shem to teach him more about this. But at the beginning, when he was a child, he had no inspiration. Nobody ever taught him. He figured this out just by looking around. It's a beautiful concept, and how we can all discover a lot, if not everything, but a lot about God by ourselves. We can discover enough to motivate us to study more. Then yes, you can go to books, you can go to classes, and then you can study more. But at the beginning, there is this process of self-discovering just by looking around, just by asking questions to yourself, and then discovering the world around. Yes. Brenda, you said, are you doing Kabbalah Shabbat this week? No, I am not. It's Rabbi Carney this Friday doing Kabbalah Shabbat. Yep. I mean, it's Friday of Halloween. And he is going to do the service. Let's continue. Okay? Now, let's study more. Let's talk more about Abraham. Because the Torah define Abraham in a very interesting way. And this is a word that I'm gonna say that we still use it. We still use it as a way to define the Jewish people, right? But it's coming from this parsha, as it says the following. Okay, a fugitive brought the news to Abram the Hebrew. LeAvram ha'ivri, ivri, says in the translation. Okay, and this is a word that is used sometimes in other times in the Tanakh. In the Tanakh, okay, the Ivri, who is the other one? The prophet. Yeah, we read this in the High Holidays when we read the Sefer Jonah, the book of Jonah. He is the one who says also Ivri Anochi. Jonah says, "I'm a Ivri. I'm a Hebrew. Ivri Anochi ve'et Hashem Ivri, and I fear Elohei Hashemaim, and I fear the God of heaven." So it's very similar declaration here and there. So it looks like in the land of Canaan, Abraham was already known as Abraham the Hebrew. What does it mean to be a Hebrew, a Ivri? I don't know if you ever thought about that, because we say, yeah, we are descendants, we Hebrew, the Hebrew people, but where is that coming from? Different explanations of what it means to be a Hebrew. Okay? It said, let's go back here. A fugitive brought the news to Abraham the Hebrew, who was dwelling at the terebinth of Mamre the Amorite, kinsman of Eshcol and Aner, these being Abraham's allies. Okay? But the Hebrew, what does it mean? Listen to this, because it's beautiful. And this interpretation is taking the word Hebrew as a spiritual thing, that it says Abraham is called the Ivri, the Hebrew, meaning the one who comes from the other side of the river, from ever I am. Ever means from the other side, which is something very interesting, because it looks like, because he was a foreigner there, right? And when you move to the new land, people will ask you, where are you coming from? Well, I'm coming from the other side of the river. Oh, you're an Ivri. You're one of those. Ivri, Hebrew in English, right? That is one interpretation. That's coming from the other side of the river, literally, geographically. Okay? So that's what Rashi said. This is a geographic description of Abraham's history, because he came from the other side of the river physically. But there is more for the rabbis. There is more about this description of Abraham than just a physical river. So what they say is, and you will read this in Midrash Breishit Rabbah, said, Avram the Ivri, Rabbi Yehuda said, this teaches us that the entire world was on one side and he was on the other side. So think about it. Think about this. From a theological point of view, maybe from a spiritual point of view, what does it mean to say about a person, I'm coming from the other side, or I belong to the other side sometimes? And you're not talking about geography here. What is the other side? And I will give you a minute to type your ideas here in the chat. What do you think it means to be on the other side? What do you think? Because beliefs. Okay, that could be one thing, the beliefs. Thank you, Randy. Like, everybody believed one thing, right? And Abraham believed something else. So you are on this side, I'm on the other side. Brenda, you said perhaps a convert. Okay. Well, he was a convert in the sense that he embraced a new theology at one point of his life. So you can tell that he created his own religion and converted to it. Yeah. Shelley Judge, you say could be family, in laws of otherworldly. Okay. Okay. The, the, the other thing, other interpretation of the other side are also about talking about spirituality as well. When the world embraced a more materialistic approach to life, Abraham belonged to the other side, to the spiritual side, and that was his motivation to live life. But all this holy Mandelkern said it could mean from the opposition, or it could imply that wholeness demand including all sides. Okay, yeah, because interesting that even though Abraham comes from the other side, he was now living on this side, but he was still recognized as the one who represents the other side. And at the end of the day, that is all about being Jewish, because we don't reject this side, this world. We don't reject this world. All we do is we embrace the other side and we make it present on this world, on the side of the material world. That is the challenge. Eventually, that is going. Eventually, that is going to be represented as well by Jacob. Okay, Jacob is the one And we are going to study more as we keep moving into the patriarchs and matriarchs. Now we are just of Abraham, but Jacob also had the same thing, being able to put together the two sides. How do we know that? Because when he went to Isaac to receive the blessing of the firstborn, remember that he dressed up as his brother Esau. So remember, Abraham was going blind, so he wasn't sure. But Abraham said, "Hold on a minute. The skin is the skin of the skin is the skin of Esau, but the voice is the voice of Jacob." And there is this beautiful interpretation that the fact that Jacob was able to show, externally as Esau, but internally he was still Jacob, was the proof that Isaac needed to release the full extent of the blessing, because he realized that Jacob was able to put the two worlds together. The concept of the Ivri, the concept of the Hebrew. Hello, Roberta Gross. You said had an accent. Yeah, maybe. Randy, you said Leonard Cohen's song, "I See You Standing on the Other Side When the River Gets So Wide." Interesting. I don't know that song. Remember, I grew up with Spanish songs in Argentina, so I will have to check on that one from Leonard Cohen. Okay. Thank you, Roberta, for sharing that. So, Avram Ahivri. So, let's continue with this concept. So, back to the Talmud. Back to the Talmud. This is from Masechet Pesachim. It says, when the wicked Nimrod, he was the king, of Abraham homeland. When the wicked Nimrod threw Abraham into the furnace, the angel Gabriel said before God, "Lord of the world, I will descend and cool and save the righteous one from the furnace." God answered him, "I am singular in my world, and he is singular in his world. It is fitting for the singular to rescue the singular." So basically, said that God went personally to save Abraham. No angels. God got a person. But this is telling you here about the close relationship that Abraham had with God. And that was also represented by being recognized as the one from the other side. The other side, spiritually, is the side of God, the side of the unity. I don't want to go too deep into Kabbalah here, but that's exactly what it means to be from the other side. That is the side of God, the one that we are always trying to bring here down to earth. And yeah. Now, the other thing that is interesting about Abraham is, and this is expressed on Pirkei Avot, this is part of the Mishnah, where it said, Abraham was challenged with 10 tests and overcame all of them to inform us how great was the love of our father Abraham for God. And this brings us to the concept of God tests. And I'm curious about your opinion, guys. What is a test from God? What is your understanding of a test from God? And why will God need to test people? Do you have any idea of that? What is the idea? No comments. Okay. So this brings me also to the concept of tests in general, because at the end of the day, okay, Holly, you say here, test the individual's loyalty to God and subjugating one's own will. Okay, Shelley Chochin of internal strength to overcome diversity. Okay, very interesting. So this brings me to the concept of test in general. It doesn't have to be a test from God, because people get tests all the time, mostly when we are at school. Could be elementary, high school, university, college, you name it. That is when the tests are more evident, right? It's part of the system. It's part of the systems. So the test serve for at least two purposes, and I'm pretty sure there are more, but there are at least two purposes for tests. Number one is to know if you are ready for the next level. Okay? Like, for example, if you don't pass the test on grade 8, you won't move to grade 9. You have to redo, sometimes, you have to redo grade 8 or whatever. So, but because that is a proof to the school, if you're ready, but it's also for yourself. Because you need at one time to be sure, that you're ready for the next level. Because if you're not ready for the next level, you're going to fail for sure. So you need to know if you are ready. So many times the way, at least the way I understand the quote unquote tests of life, the tests are those situations where we prove to ourselves that we are ready. And because sometimes when we say that we fail the tests of life, is that we are not ready. And failing a test in life means that we have some adjustments to make, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to enjoy the blessings that they are in store for our future. The enjoyment of those future blessings depends on us being prepared to handle them. So that's what happened. So when it says that Abraham was challenged with 10 tests, there were 10 areas of his life that, of course, God knew if Abraham had it or not. But sometimes Abraham had to discover and have to be sure and secure on himself that he was strong enough in those areas to keep moving forward, to be prepared for the next level. And that's what it is. And I see it in many times, in many things, that they follow the same pattern. I see my son playing video games all the time, right? And he's in one level of the video games. And eventually, after a while, I'll ask him, so who is that guy who came to fight you? And he will say to me, well, that's the boss. Have you ever heard that? I don't know if there are any gamers in my class today. But if you're a gamer, you're not what I'm talking about. After you go through certain stages of the game, and then you have to fight the boss. And if you don't defeat the boss, you don't pass to the next level. But this is the thing. All the skills that you need to defeat the boss are the skills that you need for the next level of the game. So if you feel that you cannot defeat the boss, doesn't make any sense to cheat, to go, because you wouldn't be able to survive the next level. So that's why, sometimes the tests serve this purpose. The tests are the boss that we have to defeat before we know that we have what it takes to move to the next level. And that's what happened with Abraham. Abraham needed to develop this to become the father of the Jewish people. And that's why Pirkei Avot will say how he did it. And he did it out of love of God, because Abraham understood, as it was promised to him. When God said, I will bless you, and you're going to be a blessing. And Abraham will say, I want to be sure, God, that I'm ready for that blessing that you promised me. I want to be able to enjoy that blessing and to be able to give that blessing to other people. And that involves certain, I want to call it quote unquote, test, to be sure that Abraham was ready. So, the other thing is, you see, Amparo, you said the giving of the Torah at the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but only when they left Egypt. So basically there was no Torah at the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There was no formal Torah. There is the concept that the patriarchs kind of understood the concept without the Torah being revealed. The Torah was eventually revealed so we can understand the things, but Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob already have an understanding of what the Torah was trying to teach. Like, love your neighbor as yourself. It's something that, even though was not said explicitly, Abraham already knew it as a gut feeling. Abraham knew that that was God's will. Okay? And he was tested about this too. When strangers were walking past his tent, maybe that was a test, and Abraham ran away and said, "Hey, come over, come to my house. I want to feed you. Take a seat. Let me bring you water." He passed the test. He was ready for the next level. That was the boss, right? It was very interesting. So this is what I say. The Midrash also say that Abraham was, so to say, purified by the 10 trials, by the 10 tests. Purified. When you purified, you are removing impurities. So that's when you realize, when you are building character, let's put it that way. And it's true. Think about each one of it. Think about your life and how sometimes situations in life will develop your character, will make you who you are. Sometimes we don't like to think about, difficulties and challenges of life as tests. But think it that way. That all the things that we went through made us who we are today. The same way that everything that Abraham has to go through made him who he became to be. So that's why the Midrash will say here, quoting the scripture, God saying is pure, okay, explains Abraham was purified by 10 trials, and these are the 10 trials. So now the Midrash will say which one were the 10 trials that Abraham had to go through. Number 1, he was thrown into the furnace. As it says, I am God that took you out from Ur Kasdim. So what do you mean taking you out? Ur Kasdim is a geographic place, but is also understood as a furnace because of the meaning of the word. There is a midrash saying that Abraham was a troublemaker in Ur, that the city of Ur, before he left, before God said Lech Lecha, before God said to him, leave. He was a troublemaker, and the king of the place didn't like Abraham because he was stirring the pot. So he said, I will kill you, and I will kill you by throwing you into a furnace. And that was a midrash that I read before, that God, the angel Gabriel said, I'm going to rescue Abraham. And God said, no. I will rescue Abraham personally. So the first challenge was the furnace. Okay, how do you know that? Because God says, I took you out from the quote-unquote furnace. That's a different way of reading Ur Kasdim. It's from the furnace. Okay, number 2, second test. God instructed Abraham, go for yourself. So the Lech Lecha, leave everything behind, was a test. Test 3 and 4, 2 tests concerning Sarah, concerning his wife. Okay, that it was, remember that she couldn't conceive, and then you had to go to Egypt. So there was things concerning Sarah. Number 5 was when he accepted being with Hagar to have a child. Okay, number 5. Number 6, all the challenges with Ishmael, with his son, with Sarah, with Hagar. And when he was told, drive out this slave woman with her son, he has to kick out of his house the woman with his son. And it was a test. It was a test. Do you trust God enough to realize that they are going to be okay? Because God is telling you, send them out of your house. And Abraham thought, it's hot outside, it's a desert, it's dangerous. And the test was, did Abraham trust God enough to let them go, knowing that God was going to protect them? Which he did. So he passed the test. Then the next one was going to war with the kings. The kings, there were a group of kings that they captured Sodom and Gomorrah, and his nephew Lot was living there. And Abraham was able to put together just a small army, and he had to go against all these kings. That was a huge test of faith. God saying, don't worry, You're going to succeed. But how can I succeed with such a small army? I don't have what it takes. And God was telling him, yes, you do. Trust in what you have. You see, guys, all these things are talking to us as well. This is a very common test that we have all the time. When we feel that we don't have enough for what is in front of us, it's a test. It's a test. You have to say, you have to realize that God is saying to you, I didn't bring you this far to leave you alone. I didn't bring you this far to leave you alone. Trust in what you have. Don't say about yourself, I'm too young, I'm too weak, I don't have the resources. Go for it. You have what it takes. And that was um, one of the tests. The other one was the circumcision. Okay, and it's interesting because it's just talking about things that you may not understand. I think circumcision back then and now is the same, where we don't know why. Some people try to understand about the physical benefit. I don't think we should go there, but that's not the reason. That's not why circumcision is there. If you ask me, it's all about it's you do it out of faith. You do it out of faith. And that was one of the tests. And then the next one, the covenant between the parts when he prophesied that his descendants would be enslaved for exile. So can you imagine God telling Abraham, this is all good. We are going to make a covenant, but your descendants are going to be enslaved. Abraham could have said, if that's the future, I'm out. But he didn't. He trusted. He trusted that it would be something positive coming after slavery, and that was the Torah and the promised land. So Abraham trusted. That was another of the tests. And the other one was the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. That was the ninth one, with the test of Isaac. Take please your son, your only son, and sacrifice it, bring it as an offering to me. And Abraham kind of got with it, and then last minute God said, stop. That was the last test. I hope you realize how wonderful you are. I hope you realize how strong your faith is. You're ready for what's coming next. Okay, so it says this is what happened with the test. Now, Genesis Rabbah will say Rabbi Levi said Abraham is called the great man amongst giants. Why is he called great? Because he was worthy to have been created before Adam. However, the Holy One, blessed be he, said, perhaps Abraham will damage the world and there will not be anyone to come and rectify it after him. Therefore God said, I will create Adam first, and in the event that he damages the world, Abraham will come and fix it up after him. So it's almost the Midrash saying that we're talking about Abraham's soul. All the souls were created from the beginning, and God knows already the potential of every soul. So Abraham's soul was so great that he could have been the first one. But he said, if the circumstances around him will degenerate, corrupt the world, who is going to come after to rectify that? So that's why Abraham was there in the, how do you call it in sport? The dugout, ready to go, right? When he was needed. So Abraham came at the right time. Abraham came at the right time to bring a message at the right moment. And this is the way we have to think about ourselves. That, we are where we're supposed to be. Some people think, what am I here? What am I doing? What's my mission? But whatever your mission is, you are at the right place at the right time. And it's up to figure out how to do this. And yeah, this is the beauty of studying Torah to let this. So let's finish with this. One more text. We are already at an hour. So he said, just as Abraham was tested with 10 trials, so too each and every Jew is challenged during the course of their lives with 10 trials. For the life of every Jew is marked by ongoing challenges to inform him how endeared he is to God. The essential feature of a Jew being descendant from Abraham is that he trusts in God when faced with a test. So in other words, every time we're going through something difficult, we have to be able to say about ourselves that something good is going to come after this. If it's not something that we can see, then it's something that we are going to learn about ourselves. And that is something that comes from a place of faith. But hey, that's why we are Hebrews. We are Ivrim. We have a connection to the other side. And that is the side that is actually telling us, there is a purpose for everything, but it's up to us to figure that out. Okay? So thank you everyone for tuning in to this Torah L'chaim. Hopefully I'll see you next week for another edition of Torah L'chaim with myself, with Rabbi Anibal Mas. So thank you everyone. If you miss any part of this class, don't worry, it's going to be rebroadcasted tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. Okay, so you have a chance to revisit the class if you want, or to play whatever you miss. So thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Be blessed, be safe, and hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.